Welcome to today's Impromptu AMA. It is May 12th, 2023, and we are joined by Gene from Mux Protocol. Gene, thank you so much for making it out today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what Mux is?
For sure. Thank you for having me. I'm Jing, and I am one of the core contributors of Mux Protocol right now. Personally, I have been trading crypto for a long time. Before that, I was trading the commodities and forex usually, and then I kind of shift my portfolio to the crypto perp trading. And we actually, the Mux has been in the space for a long time. We started back in 2019 actually, but at that time we have another name which is MCDEX. So we have been like building and shipping, iterating the product for a while, and until last December of last year, we launched the first ever aggregator of the decentralized perps that we have integrated with GMX, GNS, and also we have our native pool here. So actually, the goal is to become the one-stop access for the perpetual trading. You can just like imagine us as the 1 inch of perpetual swaps. For now, what we basically do is trying to find the optimized trading cost, trading value for the traders, because there are, I think, more than 20 protocols right now working on the perpetual swaps, and it's really complicated to calculate all the cost for the perpetual trading. So we just save the hassle from the traders to help them to finding the best trading value. I think during the past 1 to 2 months, we're doing pretty good. That the daily trading volume in the past 1 month, I guess, is around like $70 million per day. And 2 days ago, we actually has just hit our all-the-time high, which is $200 million, around $200 million, which is we're excited to see that more and more traders love our user experiences, and we're pretty excited about that. So regarding the ecosystem right now, we are on Arbitrum, Optimism, Phantom, Avalanche, and BNB chain. But most of our trading volumes and liquidity is within the Arbitrum ecosystem for sure, because they're kind of have the most active derivatives ecosystem right now. But we are also exploring to other ecosystem too. So pretty excited it's a wild ride.
All right. Well, that was quite an introduction. So it seems like we have a compliment on the description of Mux as the 1 inch of perps. So I've known of Mux Protocol for quite a while, and I knew that you guys were trying to aggregate perpetuals across a variety of different chains, which raises a bunch of questions that hopefully we can get answered during this AMA. The first one is, you guys have your own sort of what we call a CPV, right? Counterparty vault. You can go on to Mux Network and you can look at the Mux LP, which has a staking APR of 42.89%. Now, if you're tapping into other derivative protocols, what is the need for a counterparty vault like the Mux LP?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So as I mentioned that we have our native pool, which we call it Mux LP pool. So to make it simple, it's kind of similar to the GLP pool. It has a little bit differences. For example, that the Mux LP pool might have different assets comparing to the GLP pool. That depending on what kind of markets that we have. So also like those assets might have different weights. So besides that, you can just imagine the MLP pool is pretty similar to the GLP pool. So I'm glad that you have mentioned the APR, which is quite impressive. Like it's around like 42% around that. That is mostly contributed by the trading volume that I mentioned like a couple of days ago, which is pretty crazy. For the Mux LP pool, they have basically two there are two parts of their revenues. One part is the protocol income, which is including the protocol fee, which is the transaction fee that which we have, as well as some other fees like liquidation fee, etc. And the second part of this APR comes from our incentive, which is MUX token. So MUX token is like the reward token of the system that you can either vest the MUX token to our MCB token, which is liquid on the second market, or you can stake the MUX token and you'll get VE MUX, which you can furthermore get a share of the protocol fee and more incentive. It's like a cycle here. So yeah, it's pretty impressive, the APR in the past 2 months, mostly because of the trading volume that have been generated.
Okay, so we're pretty familiar with like the GLP model and these counterparty vault models. The one thing that sort of sticks out as a little bit unique here is that when we look at the liquidity composition, we're seeing a bunch of different chains. So is it right to assume that like ETH is part of the composition on Arbitrum, BSC, Optimism, AVAX, and Phantom, and then like AVAX is only part of the composition on Binance Smart Chain and AVAX?
Oh, actually, they are. Yeah, that's a good question. That leads to our another feature of us, which is a universal liquidity. So, I will make it simple. For example, we are right now on 5 chains. If we say that there are only 10 is liquidity on each chain, but so the total liquidity of MUX protocol will be 50 ETH. So how we do that is that we have like a broker to observe the liquidity of each chain. So if a trader places an order Avalanche, but Avalanche the liquidity is not enough to support that position, then the broker will kind of check the liquidity on other ecosystem. So if the other ecosystem if they are able to support the position, so the position is also can be filled. So with this kind of a universal liquidity feature, that is to the answer of your question. That is kind of the liquidity on the chains are actually all combined together. So they are like so for the Avalanche token is like part of the all ecosystem liquidity.
Okay, so just to clarify, unlike GLP, where you have a different basket on Arbitrum and a different basket on Avalanche, your basket, MUX LP, is the same basket on all chains, and it's universal liquidity. So any one of the chains can tap into this universal liquidity if needed.
Right, correct.
That is a major difference from other similar protocols. I mean, you also see Unidex sort of have this semi-similar model to GLP, where like their counterparty vault is chain specific. I have not seen any protocols where the counterparty vault is chain agnostic. So that's pretty amazing. Now, that also makes me wonder about like security. So if you have this very complex system, we've seen complex systems sort of be exploited in the past. What do you guys do in terms of security to ensure that MUX is sort of unexploitable, or rather very, very robust in terms of its security?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so first of all, that all of our customer contract is obviously being outdated. And besides that, actually our MUX native pool has been live for almost 1 year, since August last year. Yeah. About like 9 months or 10 months right now. And for now, we have been going through pretty large trading volume per day. So we haven't witnessed any, the big exploit yet, but definitely that we're not guaranteed that it will not happen in the future. But for now, that what we do is that we have like a dark oracle, which is kind of an off-chain oracle that we pull the price feed from the main centralized exchanges like Binance and Coinbase. So that is pretty high frequency, that comparing to the Chainlink or the other decentralized oracle for now. I want to say this is a trade-off, because we want to make sure the security of the whole ecosystem, and then we will find a way out to kind of decentralize the oracle. So so because that is pretty important for the security of the whole ecosystem.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm looking here at the MUX statistics. And if you look at the historical data here, it looks like, yeah, Arbitrum is certainly the chain that gets the vast majority of the volume. But in the beginning of April, you start to see a big change in where these trades are going, right? We see the aggregator of GMX and the aggregator of Gain start to get a lot of the volume there. Was there a protocol upgrade or a reason that you think that the aggregators started to do a lot more work in the beginning of April?
Oh, that's mostly because the booming of the trading volume that we have so much demand from the trader side. But for MUX protocol, I think in early April, our liquidity is only half of our current liquidity, which is around like $15 million. So
Hmm.
our pool is not that deep to support those trading volumes. So they have to be routed to GMX or gains. But yeah, we are trying to. That's something that we kind of see as a bottleneck right now. That we are trying every effort to increase the liquidity, so that like the MUX protocol can kind of like take most of the trading volume. But yeah, at the end of the day, we are an aggregator. We are happy to bring more trading volume to our integration partners to see like the whole ecosystem boost as a whole.
So there's clearly a lot of perpetual dexes on Arbitrum, on Optimism, and some other chains that might not be quite as exciting. Uh,
Mm.
we have like Pika. You also have Vila, which is quite large. So they had a bit of a hiccup earlier. Do you guys have a plan to aggregate other dexes in the short term? And if so, which ones are on your roadmap?
Yeah, for in the short term, actually, we have been in talk with synthetics for a while, and I'm
Nice.
guessing that we haven't done integrations mostly because of dev is basically packed with all of our work. So
Sure.
I'm thinking that yeah, the synthetics integration will be happening in about like 1 to 2 months because we have been in connection for a while, for a long time, and well, we're collaborating with synthetics. One of the key reasons is that because they are pretty popular in the optimistic ecosystem, we regard it as a way to tap into the optimism ecosystem. So that's kind of one of our priorities for now. But in the longer term, honestly speaking, we have been approached by more than 10 protocols already, including DYDX and
Oh,
Sushi
wow.
as well. Yeah, I think Sushi is also working on a perp.
Perpetuals, yeah. I
Uh,
mean, everyone has
yeah,
perps now. Even PancakeSwap has had perps for a while. I
right,
would be
right.
unsurprised if Uniswap's like V4 doesn't have some sort of perps.
Correct. Yeah, it's pretty hot. So like it will take us too much step effort to integrate with every single of them.
Of
So what we
course.
are thinking right now, we are working on an adapter, something like a
Mhm.
SDK, so that the partners can integrate themselves in the longer term. So that will be our solution. Yeah.
So one of the things that some people here who are maybe interested in fundamental analysis might be curious about is a comparison to an asset like GMX, right? So
Mhm.
clearly you have a very compelling product. This is super interesting. In my opinion, like, or at least as far as I know, the first of its kind. So the MUX token then becomes a way to get exposure to this sort of novel mechanism. Do you know what sort of emission schedule the MUX token has and how inflationary it is?
Cool. Yeah. So so right now the first of all the total supply of the oh, first of all, I need to kind of explain a little bit about MUX token and
Please.
the MCB token. Yeah, it's a little bit, I have to admit, it's a little bit confused because MCB token has been around for a long time since MCDEX, since we are MCDEX. So the protocol token actually is MCB that has a total supply of around 4.8 million, and the current situation circulation is around like it's around 3.8 million. So we have about 1 million in the future. And MUX token is actually a non-transferable token, which is only used as the reward token within our system. So as I mentioned, once you get the MUX token, which you can get it
Okay.
from the LP.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you are an LP, you will receive the MUX token. And if you stake your MCB, and then you get VE MUX, and then you will also get the MUX token. So it's only use it for the reward our stakers and reward the LPs. So once you get the MUX token, then you can vest it to MCB in a time frame of 1 year, or you can stake your MUX to gain the VE MUX and to furthermore receive more MUX.
Okay,
So
so
this is
quick question, because I think I may have missed something there. You said something about vesting or staking for 1 year to get MCB. Which of the two assets converts to MCB after a year? Was that VE MUX or was that MUX? Oh, MUX, I can
MUX.
see, right. It says right
Yeah.
here, MUX, and then if you vest it, it turns into MCB. Got it. All right,
Mhm.
so MUX is a non-transferable token. It's only used to stake to get platform fees. Is that right? So you can stake the MUX and you can get fees from that, but you can't sell the MUX.
Yeah, you can now. It's non-transferable.
Right, perfect, got it. And then VE MUX is just one of these. Is it actually vote escrowed? Is there a voting escrow system?
Yes, it's pretty. We kind of get that inspiration from the VE model. That the VE MUX is actually the governance token in our ecosystem. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so you can't. So that's what the voting is for. So you can't vote with MUX. You have to vote with VE MUX.
VE.
And
Yes.
okay, and then MCB. If MCB isn't the governance token, what is the purpose of MCB?
MCB is actually it's like the protocol token that reflects the value of the protocol. That is the only token that has the secondary that is liquid on the secondary market. And we also use MCB, 2 years ago as the token to do the fundraising.
Mhm.
So that is the official native protocol token to represent the value to generate to capture the value of the protocol. So that is the MCB. That is the yeah. So that is the kind of the purpose of the MCB token.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a little bit more on that. You're saying that MCB captures the value of the protocol, similar to how like maybe a stocks asset represents the value of a company.
Right.
However,
Right.
there with MCB, there's no ability to like redeem it for like the underlying value of the protocol, and it doesn't seem like MCB has any sort of staking yield or implicit value. Is there any use case for MCB, or is it simply a token that represents the protocol ideologically?
Yeah, sorry, I missed one key part because how you get VE MUX is to stake your MCB.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense. So
Yeah.
here we go. Right. You have lock MCB, I imagine. So you lock your MCB,
Right.
you get your VE MUX, then you have
Mhm.
to gain access to voting and governance, you would have to
Mhm.
lock your MCB.
For sure.
Okay. Now, do you also get VE MUX if you lock your MUX?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
Okay, so you could lock MCB to get VE MUX. You could lock MUX to get VE MUX. MUX is non-transferable. MCB is.
Mhm.
So you have more
Mhm.
composability or interoperability with MCB. Okay, very cool. Thank you for answering those questions. Now we have a question from Don Sylvester of Friends. I introduced him yesterday. I like to introduce him. Friends is a major validating company on the ICV. They validate on like, I don't know, 30 or 40, who knows how many blockchains. Every blockchain in the Cosmos ecosystem they validate on. He's a good friend of the Discord. He asks, who would you say is your most relevant competitor and how will you maintain an edge?
Well, I guess like if we look at the macro level of the derivatives ecosystem, I think GMX is still dominating right now. So all of us is kind of trying to acquire a market share in the derivatives space. So yeah, so although like GMX is not an aggregator, but we have to admit it's still like kind of acquire like almost I think almost like 50% around that figure of the whole market share. I mean, for the centralized perpetual swaps. So yeah, so I think they are still pretty competitive right now. But I do know there are some other protocols working on the aggregator as well. One of which is Unidex that we are most of us are pretty familiar.
Mhm.
But yeah, so but aggregator I think is like something that pretty kind of a little bit more complicated than perpetual protocol. So we are also expecting to see more innovations on the space to see like how we can kind of grow a bigger cake. I think that's the most important thing, that we can acquire more, we can adapt more users, especially from the centralized changes. Because if we look at the decentralized changes right now, I think the user base is still relatively small. That I think combine all the perp decks, the daily active trader, I think is around 1,000 to 2,000. Yeah, so this is around that figure. It's not a big number. So I guess like the key is to how to grow the decentralized perpetual traders as a whole. Yeah, regarding the second question, how we can get an edge, I think there are several part of it. That I think the first part of it, that I think most of the traders, the love of Mux, because Mux do have one of the best one of the like optimized trading experiences for now, that which is pretty seamless. And we do put a lot of effort on the front end to improve the user experiences. And the second thing that I think something that we are working on right now is, as you know, like the GLP model is kind of limited by the market that they provide. They are only a couple of markets. So what we do right now is kind of trying to find a way to diversify the markets that for our native pool as well. So that especially for those long tail market. So I guess like, for example, PP is pretty popular a couple of like days ago. So if
Right.
we are able to list a PP, then it should gain a lot of traction from the market. So that might be one of the strategies to gain an edge, to be the first mover. So that's something that we do observe in the past 1 month, that we list ARB right after ARB is live, which is a pretty good strategy. We see that we gain a lot of new users because of that. So long tail market is something that we are also working on, trying to get more users and tractions from the market. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that answer. I'm gonna have a few more questions about the tokenomics really quickly, just so I understand. So here we have locking MCB, and if you lock 100 MCB for 1 year, you will get 24.8133 VE MUX. How do we value the 24.8133 VE MUX so that we understand our APR relative to our MCB? So let's say we have 100 MCB, we see this VE MUX at 36.1%. How do we conceptualize that?
Okay, yeah. So if you lock 100 MCB for 1 year, so first of all, if you lock your MCB 100 MCB for 4 years, then you will get 100 exactly the 100 BE max, which is the it. So if we are doing 1 year, so it's basically 1/4 of that.
I see.
So around 25. So the average APR listed at that time is for the 4 year. 4 year.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you lock for 4 years, then you would get 36.11 effectively on your principal, paid out in ETH plus additional MUX that could be compounded for more yield.
Yeah, right.
Okay. That makes sense. Then we have a question here from Nitty. So he says, so in order to realize 100% of MUX rewards from staked MUX LP, MUX needs to be vested for 4 years. Is that correct?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat?
Yeah. So this is from Nitty in the chat here. He says, so in order to realize 100% of MUX rewards from the staked MUX LP, MUX would need to be vested for 4 years.
Oh, no. Actually, MUX, if you want to MUX, if you want to vest MUX, it will be vest over a time frame of 1 year to MCB.
Okay, and what is the MUX LP? Can you explain that again?
The MUX LP?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the MUX LP is actually a token that if you provide liquidity, for example, Ethereum, Bitcoin, or stablecoin to our pool, then
right.
you will get
MUX LP. Yeah. This is the GLP.
yeah.
Okay.
And
So
Yeah.
to realize, so he's saying in order to realize all of your MUX rewards from the staked LP, you would need to. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're asking here, Nitty. Are you saying that the MUX you get from the MUX LP would have to be vested? Because if so, yes, it's very similar to escrow GMX in that way, where escrow GMX would have to actually be vested for the full year to realize 100% of the gains. Generally speaking, the escrowed portion of the reward is not considered a quote unquote true portion of the APR. You'd be looking at the APR in terms of, if we go over to MUX LP, in terms of the ETH that you're getting. So like the base APR that is realizable immediately is that 34.77% on your MUX LP. And then the MUX APR is very similar to escrowed GMX. If that's, I think that's what you're asking. Okay. Then another question here from Don Sylvester says, would you consider derivatives of real world assets, Forex, commodities, equities, bonds, real estate funds, etc., essential for the long-term growth of on-chain derivatives?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, we have been thinking about this topic for a long time. So for now, Gains has provided the non-crypto assets like the forex or the stock, as you mentioned. But I think like most of the derivatives protocols haven't tapped into this area, mostly because of the regulation issue. So for us, we also have like the same concern about the regulation issue. So if there is no regulation issue constraint, I'm pretty sure there are already a lot of like derivatives protocols have been working on this space because it's easy to see there are like lots of demand from the market. So that is a key consideration we were dealing this. But regarding that, I believe like this is the long-term trend for the on-chain derivatives to bring in more reward asset
So
into the
I can see that on MUX you could trade the like gains indices and gains stocks and gains commodities. If you have regulatory concerns, how do you rationalize having the indices, forex, stocks, and commodities tradable on MUX?
Yeah, so that is a good question. We do have some concerns for now, and also we are talking with some like lawyers, attorneys for now. So we list the assets from the gains now, but I think in the longer term we will when we have like more mature advices from the attorney, we might find a way to deal with them. But for now, we list them mostly because of we are still in the early stage. We want to to find more growth first, and then to tackle that problem. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. I'm all for decentralization and bucking regulation, but hopefully, the argument is it's gains that's doing it. You're simply a front end for gains at this point. You're not actually hosting the trading.
Yeah, the
Okay.
thinking right now.
So one of the other questions I have about this aggregation system is like, let's say you have either MUX LP or MUX, and you're gaining exposure to platform fees. Does MUX benefit from the aggregated swap? So let's say like MUX routes a swap through GMX or MUX routes a swap through Gains. Do you generate any protocol fees from those routed swaps or routed trades?
Yeah, for now, we don't charge any fees yet. The thinking model is that we still want to attract more users
Of course.
at first. Yeah, but we are not sure whether in the longer term whether we will or will not. That is something the governance I think the DAO contributors will think about it and have a discussion with the community. Yeah, but for now we don't charge any fees yet.
Okay. So in this case, like if we went back over to that analytics and we saw that, the volume the trading is certainly increasing overall on the MUX platform. But then you see like a larger portion maybe being traded on GMX and Gains. So that's not necessarily generating revenue for the protocol, though it is generating usage for the protocol. So you're getting traction in terms of new users, traction in terms of volume traded on the protocol, but not necessarily generating fees from those specific trades. Is that accurate?
Not really. Actually, yeah, another thing that I forget to mention is we don't charge any fees yet for the positions routed to GMS and gains, but we do have a referral link. So the referral we get from those trading volume will be regarded as a protocol fee, as a protocol income, which is
Okay.
which is around 10 to 20%. It depends on the trading volume fee. On the transaction fee that the trader paid.
Right.
So
Mhm.
yeah.
So this is like a DeFi Llama model. DeFi Llama charges 0 fees on their routing, but they get a referral fee to all the DEX aggregators that they tap into.
Correct.
I love that model. It's very symbiotic. So the traders aren't paying anything additionally, but the
Right.
aggregator is being incentivized to aggregate,
Mhm.
top tier partners. It's a really good model.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so we also see here like trader P&L is very down. That's great usually for the counterparty vault. So Mux LP, I imagine. Do you host or show the P&L of Mux LP anywhere, like relative to traders?
You mean the P&L
Or
of
the
the
APY, the yield of Mux due to trader P&L.
you mean the specific figure? Yeah, the P&L of the LP due to
Yes.
the trader. Yeah, that's the question. I don't think we have that specific data yet because we only show the general revenue of the LP. But yeah, I think that's a good
Oh.
question. We could list that data somewhere. Yeah.
So theoretically, you're saying that the staking APR is not showing or not advertising any of the trader P&L. So if we look at the statistics here and see this quite down only effect since, let's say, early or mid March, you would expect that the Mux LPers would have benefited pretty dramatically from this trader P&L in addition to this staking APR. Is that an accurate assumption?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite follow.
Right. So
Can you?
on GLP, for example, when traders
Mhm,
lose, the value
mhm,
of GLP increases. Now, when
mhm,
traders win, the value of GLP decreases. So here we have Mux
mhm,
LP with this base APR of 42.9%. But then we also
mhm.
have trader P&L being very negative over the past, let's say, month. And because of trader P&L being very bad, you would assume that Mux LP would increase in value. Is that accurate?
Mhm. Yeah, right, correct. Because the logic is still the same, that Mux LP is basically the counterparty of the
Mhm.
traders. So the major P&L of the Mux LP comes from two parts. One part is a P&L of the traders. If they win, the LP lose. If they lose, the LP win. And the second part of the profit or P&L of the LP comes from the assets value, because once you are holding Mux LP, you are basically holding a basket of the assets in our pool, including
Mhm.
Ethereum, Bitcoin, and other stable coins. So if the asset value um, increase,
Right.
then your LP increase. So
Yeah.
they
So
are basically the
mhm.
two major features. Yeah.
So you're right. You're exposed to a basket of assets and the delta of that basket of
Mm,
assets. You're also exposed to the P&L of the traders on the platform.
correct. Yeah.
Specifically, you're exposed to the trading on the platform that is routed through the Mux LP. You're not exposed to the trading on the
Correct.
platform that's
Yeah.
routed through anywhere else. Got it. Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Now, one of the unique features of the Mux platform is that the funding uh, can never work in your favor, right? The funding is always against you. So here we have funding 0.002% on longs and 0.004% on shorts. Can you explain why the funding is always paid by the trader and never paid to the
Yeah. Yeah.
trader, like you might see on a
Mhm.
centralized exchange?
Mhm. Yeah, so that's especially because the funding rate in our platform is similar to the GMX model, that is actually a borrowing fee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So whenever you are long or short, you borrow some assets from the LP pool to do your leverage. So you're paying a borrowing fee from to the LPs. So that's why the funding is always like that.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's like an interest rate that you're
Yeah.
paying
Right. Yeah.
to
So
the LP.
Right, to the LP. So to make it more precise, this is actually a margin trading model. Yeah. So that's why you're always paying a borrowing fee to the LP.
Right. So effectively, to gain leverage, you're borrowing some number of assets,
Right.
and in order to do that, you are tapping into that liquidity. So you have to pay an interest on those borrowed assets. It totally checks out. It's just strange to see it advertised as a funding rate rather than an interest rate. But when you explain it, it makes sense.
Yeah, right. Because usually the funding is paid between the long and short to
Mm-hmm.
balance this. Yeah, so this is like a little bit different from the usual ones.
Okay, so I think we've gone through quite a bit of the features. Wow, 92 different assets. A bit of the features of Mux. My next question is, what is on the roadmap for Mux? What are the biggest innovations coming out in the near future, distant future, and what is
Mhm,
the overall goal of Mux long term?
mhm. Cool. Yeah, I think in the short term, our dev is pretty busy working on the integration with GMX V2 right now. We want to make sure that when GMX V2 is live, we will be also like be ready with the integration. And the second thing is the synthetic integration that I have just mentioned. In the middle term, actually, we are also working on something on the LP side. As I mentioned, that currently one of our bottleneck is the liquidity issue that we hope we can increase our liquidity to take more trading volume. So what we do is that we are working on a change on the LP side. And a change will it's basically something like a bond that will have two changes. One change with lower risk and lower yield, and another change with higher risk and higher yield. So for those LPs that they want to take lower risks, so they can just like feel if they're comfortable, they'll just go to the change with lower risk. So this is something to kind of divide the risks and the profit for the different type of LPs, but
So
depending on their risk appetites. Yeah.
this reminds me a little bit of what Level is doing, but I'm imagining this is different. So you're saying that the tranches would be different. Would the tranches be different by virtue of the index of assets they're composed of, or would it be different by the way in which they're actually used?
It will actually the way to use the change will be basically the same. It's just
Mhm.
that it's just that like once there are some profit and once there are some loss, who is get those profit or who is suffering those loss first. So for the lower risk range
Mhm.
change, they will like take a fixed yield, for example, which is pretty lower
Right.
relatively. For example, it's like a 5 or 8% that they will take those profit first, and then the rest of the profit will goes to the higher risk change. So actually, this is something that's similar to Barn Bridge, this protocol. I'm not sure if you're familiar. They were live about like 1 to 2 years ago. They're trying to do this kind of changes. Yeah. So this is kind of to fit into different risk appetites because we have to trying to onboard more LPs. We also have been talking with several institutions that they are relatively more low risk tolerance. So this is kind of a way to onboard more type of LPs
Of course,
because
definitely.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, some of
Everyone
them
wants
are
its
not.
institutional investors.
Yeah, right. And some of them might like don't want to might have concerns of the risks of the LP right now, and they don't want to hedge by themselves. So we can do that. We can actually do that for those
So
who
one of mhm.
yeah.
One of
Sorry, go ahead.
one of the other things that I've seen, like right now, GMX is going to slowly be sunsetting their GLP in favor of having a bunch of different. I don't know if they're called trenches. I don't know if they're called
Mhm,
silos, but they're going to have asset-specific liquidity provision, where you'd provide ETH to counter trade ETH. You'd provide BTC to be the counterparty for BTC. And that model allows investors to have specific delta exposure to assets
mhm,
that they want. Now,
Mm.
your instead of that model, you're going to go for a tranche model. And just to clarify, with that tranche model, would your delta exposure be the same for this? Like, let's say the senior tranche, or let's say the high risk tranche and the low risk tranche. Would you still have the exact same basket of assets in each of those tranches?
Oh, for the high risk, yes, they're still for the actually for both of the tranche, they are still the same. But we
Okay.
kind of like combine the profit and loss,
Mhm.
and then to divide those profit and loss to different tranches, to
Okay.
different tranches.
So the
Yeah.
delta exposure is the exact same in terms of the assets you're exposed to, but
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
the hmm, but then the exposure to the profit and loss is different.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
So there, the pool is for now is still the same. That
Right.
is a one combined pool instead
Mhm.
of several separate pools.
Okay. Outstanding. Now, one of the questions we got from Fantastico is how many devs, or I guess like well, the question is how large is your team currently? How many devs do you have?
Okay, cool. Yeah, we right now have around like 15 of us, and most of them are devs. I think like maybe 12 around that. Yeah, around 12 are devs. We're pretty globally distributed right now.
Very cool. Okay, so I was playing around with your website while we were talking, and I noticed you have this redeem tab, which says redeem your Mux tokens. Mux tokens being like potentially a single asset. Was this something from like a previous raise or some sort of old function, or is this something that people should be aware of as a feature that is part of this protocol?
Yeah, yeah, this is a feature of part of protocol, but I believe this is something very in rare situations.
Okay.
This is related to the universal liquidity that I had just mentioned. So, so if a trader places a position on Avalanche and the liquidity is actually provided by Arbitrum. So, in a rare situation that if the trader close its position but there's not enough liquidity for them to claim the profit, then what they get is the mask token. Then they will redeem the mask token and they use a mask token to redeem their profit on Arbitrum where they have enough liquidity. So
Oh,
this is a
okay.
very real situation. Yeah.
So the Mux token is like a placeholder for their actual profit
Right, right.
that they can redeem on a chain where that profit is available.
Correct. Yeah.
And that profit will still be denominated in the exact asset that they got profit in. It won't be denominated
Mhm.
in some sort of proprietary asset. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, yeah, right.
Okay, cool. That's a cool feature. All right, and then finally, you guys do have like this referral program similar to GMX, which is interesting. Clearly, now that I
Mhm.
like your protocol, I'm probably going to make one of these. How does your referral system work?
So to make it simple, that our referral tier is divided by how much MCB you stake. Yeah.
I see.
So the yeah, to more MCB you stake, you are on a higher level of the referral rebates. Yeah. So this is kind of to to align the interest between the two. Yeah. So that is how the referral a referral program is working. Yeah, I think we have. I think for now the referral program is pretty popular. That we have got a certain amount, a certain percentage of our trading volume from the referral link. So
Now, do people
yeah,
who have been referred, like, do they gain any benefit? It seems like they might enter a referral code to receive up to a 5% discount on trading fees. Why did it say
yeah.
up to? Is there some additional step that a trader would have to take to get the full 5% discount?
Uh, you mean the discount for traders?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So the highest level for the highest level, that the referee, I mean the referee will get the 10% discount when they are trading, and the referral will get like 35%. So combine them together is 45 percentage
So
discount actual.
how does a trader maximize their discount?
Um, so as a trader, I think self trading is definitely one way to go. But if you can find someone that is higher, the higher the higher rebate, that will be like much easier to save your fees because save your cost. Because for the because for the highest rebate, that the referee will get 10% discount on the trading fee.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand here. So you're saying if the referrer is a higher tier level, the referee gets a higher percentage rebate?
Yes, they are.
Oh, okay. So like you would want to be referred by a whale. You would want someone who has like the max locked of $1 million. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In order for I see, referee, right? In order for them to get the 10%. Oh geez. Okay, but 5,000 it looks like it's 5% up until 1 million. So casual and then go ahead.
Yeah. One way is that if you lock more than 5K, then you will also get 10% if you are doing self trading, because you get
right.
So
or
which
5K
is
or 50K? Because it looks like it's 50K here.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you lock more than 50K, then you will get a 10% rebate. Now, is that 10% rebate on, let's say if we go to trade, we see these funding rates, like do you get a rebate on those funding fees, or is it some other fee that you're getting a rebate on?
The rebate is on the transaction fee that you paid, which is 0.08% right now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, fantastic. So I think that I have asked you as many questions as I possibly can about Mux. It's very interesting, and I do wonder, like, will there be a DeFi llama of your type of protocol? So right now we have all of these DEX aggregators like 1inch, like Firebird, like OpenOcean, and the like. And then we have DeFi Llamas aggregator, which aggregates these aggregators. Do you think there may be a future in which some perp DEX aggregating aggregator taps into Mux to perform the best swaps?
I think Unidex is doing that. They actually integrated Mux, I think.
Oh wow! So it's already happening.
Yeah. I'm not sure whether they are integrating with Mux native pool or they are integrating with our aggregator. I remember we have talked like a couple of months ago. I'm not sure what's their strategy right now. So yeah, so that might happen very shortly if they are integrating with our aggregator.
The future is here. And then last question. You're on Arbitrum, BNB Chain, Optimism, Avalanche, Phantom. We've seen some narratives around like ZK Sync, other rollups. Do you anticipate launching on any other chains in the future? And if so, which ones?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we are pretty active in exploring more EVM chains because it's pretty much like simple for us to deploy on. And ZK Zinc is definitely one of our top priorities right now, that we are actually have already been live on their testnet. So whenever there's mainnet, we will be one of the first to exploit, to deploy there. We believe that our ecosystem should be pretty active. And also we're working on with some other ecosystems very closely, like Scroll. Yeah. So we are paying a close attention to them. Whenever there is something mainnet or whatever ready, we will be one of the first to take advantage of the first movers. Yeah.
Which ecosystem was that? You said Scroll?
Scroll. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't heard about that one yet. Is that a layer one? Is it a ZK rollup?
Also one of the ZK rollup that they are backed by the Ethereum Foundation. So they are also, I think they get a lot of traction about like 1 to 2 months ago. Yeah, so also pretty popular right now.
Okay, and just to clarify, I'm like mind blown that I haven't heard about this. Is that SCROLL, like Scroll?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, can check it out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, could you spell it for me one more time? Okay. Cool. So thank you. Scroll. Yeah, Haraskar. Cool. I knew one of you guys would know it. I was only familiar with like Starknet, and then like Polygon ZK and what's the other one? ZK Sync. But now I have Scroll. So love to look into all of these. I'm sure there's a ton of this stuff on the airdrop channel. Well, Gene, thank you so much for joining us. I will give an additional 3 invitations out to your team. If any other members of your team want to come participate in the DeFi Dojo, get honorary builder roles, hang out here, they're more than welcome to join us. This has been an incredibly informative AMA, and I can't thank you enough for coming here.
Thank you for having me. It's a great chat.
Yeah, it's been our pleasure. So hopefully there is more to come on the Mux ecosystem. I'm going to go ahead and create a referral link just for my own edification. And if I do, deposit $1 million, I will make sure all of you guys get a 10% discount on your referee trading fees. If there are any questions, you can type them here in the chat, and I will reach out to the Mux team to get them answered. Or, of course, you can always join the Mux Discord and Telegram. Do you guys have a preference for which you're more active on, Telegram or Discord?
Discord, for sure, is more active.
That is the way. We love to hear it. Well, one final thank you. And for everyone else, have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.